boldly imagining a different tomorrow. Seasons of Me is not just a memoir, it's a testament to the resilience of voice, memory, and the subtle strength it takes to keep choosing yourself. That is a conversation that we're going to get into this morning, just immediately after this break. You want to put in your questions to her, you know exactly what to do. Your WhatsApp line is right there on your screen this morning. Talk to us. And you can also get in touch to us through our social media platforms, that is at Lookup TV, across all of them this morning. We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be introducing Joyce Osborne Wambua to our studio this morning so that we can talk about a memoir, Seasons of Me, a journey of learning and unlearning. I'll see you on the other side of this break. Good morning. Welcome back to Lookup TV. My name is Simba Elijah. For that introduction that we made for this show this morning, let me put it into a proper perspective. And this morning then, I've got a book with me right here in the studio, and the best way of introducing the guest and the conversation that we're going to have this morning is just for me to read for you what is Seasons of Me. I'll be telling you what that is. But my introduction this morning is entitled A Journey of Learning and Unlearning. And it goes like this. Seasons of Me is an inspiring and heartfelt memoir about a life shaped by migration, identity, and resilience. From the sun-baked expanses of Kenya to the Makiro rhythms of America, the author chronicles her life of loss, love, motherhood, and renewal. With unvarnished honesty and vulnerability, she explores the construction of identity and belonging in various worlds, and at times, none whatsoever. This is a story of reinvention, of losing and becoming, of moving beyond generational expectation and boldly imagination or imagining a different tomorrow. Seasons of Me is not just a memoir. It is a testament of the resilience of voice, memory, and the subtle strength it takes to keep choosing yourself. That introduction doesn't even get to do the introduction that I wanted to make this morning about the guest that we have, Justice. She is a guest that I got to talk to just a couple of days ago, to be exact, maybe 3 or 4 days ago. And through our conversation, I could feel intention, I could feel planning, I could sense careful steps of meticulousness that essentially paints the picture of a person who moves beyond titles and reimagining her life on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us this morning, then I want you to help me welcome to the Morning Drift this morning the story of an author that we want to talk about this morning. One, Joyce Wambua Osborne, MBA, CPA, and this morning comes in the title of an author. Joyce, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for having me today.
I've gone through an introduction that's a bit long, and that's maybe the good thing of the bad thing about talking to you before we have this conversation this morning. First of all, are you fully awake? I know it's quite morning where you're talking to us this morning from.
Yes, it's quite early, but I'm an early riser, so I'm usually up around 5:36. So yeah, I'm fully awake, and yeah, it's getting cold a little bit. It's winter, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Said, I'm looking forward to our conversation this morning. Let me begin
Yes.
simply by us looking at what is in this book that I have on my hands here this morning. I'm going to talk about just how the page looks, and what is standing out is a tree that is black on one side, I can say withered on one side, and it's green on the other side as well. Could you make our audience understand what this pictorial here means on this book?
Yes, yes. So the cover of my book is showing different seasons in my life. And some of the seasons in my life, it felt like winter. It was a struggle. I was trying to figure out life. I was in survival mode. I had some challenges, and that was not easy. But on the other hand, I also had very good seasons, which is the green side, which is the summer, where life felt really good, where things were working out for me. I was giving birth to my children. I was getting my education. I was getting married. So there were really good things that happened in my life. So the whole picture of the tree was me portraying like, hey, life comes with seasons, and some seasons might be more challenging and darker, but that does not mean we did not have good seasons. So we have to be aware
In
of those.
March, and that's a couple of things that I want us to also get out of the way, even before we start this conversation this morning. You just don't
Yeah.
come in one title of author. You come as CPA, MBA as well. Can we talk about that before we get to talking about your journey in writing?
Yeah. So my journey as an MBA, I came to the US to pursue my master's. This was 20 years ago. And I was very adamant in getting my degree because that is what brought me here. There was a lot of challenges as I came here. I was young. I was pregnant. A lot of challenges, but I knew what brought me here. It was education. So I pursued my master's. I got my master's, and it really elevated my life, in the field. I'm an accountant, and I've always loved numbers. So I knew that I knew I was going to work with numbers ever since I was maybe 10, maybe 11. And I stayed in my field because I enjoy it. I love numbers. So I did my master's. It opened up doors for me to get my career going in the corporate America. Then a couple years ago, 2017, I decided to pursue my CPA. And that was a 2-year journey. You have 18 months to pass all 4 parts of the CPA here in the US. So it was a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of just trying to balance family life, career, children, and pursuing education as an adult. That was a different journey from when I pursued my bachelor's degree in KU, in Kenyatta University. I didn't have a family, I didn't have children. All I had was my books and trying to enjoy college life.
I can see that, an interesting journey. And one of the things that sort of, the first question that I gotta ask, that when somebody decides to write a memoir, it means that you've gone through life in a way that has sort of touched you, in a way that you want to write it to either show people what you've gone through, in the end, with the aim being you want to inspire. Could you talk to me? At what point was this light bulb moment in your life when you said, I gotta do that memoir? What was that decision?
It was a reflection. It was really a reflection. It was really a reflection of my life and thinking about legacy. And sorry, I have my dog here and she's barking. But
Interview makes quite a proper interview this morning then.
yeah, she's
Oh, is that?
yeah,
Oh, that's a she.
she's
Fantastic.
excited.
That's
Her name is
beautiful.
Miracle. Miracle, say hi. Yeah, so my dad did an amazing job like letting us know who our ancestors were. So I know my ancestors up to 7 generations deep because my dad told us and he made us repeat it. So as I was reflecting on my own legacy, I realized something very powerful. My father actually laid down the foundation, and I felt like it was up to me to build on this foundation and take it to the next level. So, as much as my dad did an amazing job letting us know the names of our ancestors, I didn't have their stories. And that right there was the birth of Seasons of Me. I wanted to be more than just a name in a family tree. I wanted to be a story. I wanted to leave stories to my children, stories to generations I might never meet, and stories to the world, stories to you, stories to everyone. I wanted to be more than just a name. So that right there gave birth to Seasons of Me. I wanted it to be a gift to everyone. Yeah.
I mean, in your writing process, could you tell me, did you find, did you want to use this as therapy? Did you want it to be a reflection, or you want it to be an example of calling to tell your story? Through that process, what did it end up being?
Yeah, so I ended up rediscovering myself, but it really was not a way of therapy because I had already done the work. For me to be able to write some of these stories, which were some of them are very emotional, I had to have healed and gone through therapy and, being able to write it from a healed place. So that was very helpful because some of the seasons and the chapters I write, they're very emotional. They were hard to write. There are times I had to pause and just take a break and come back and revisit it later. So yeah. So I wouldn't say more writing for therapy. I want to say more writing as a reflection.
You speak from a cultural background when you say, well, you didn't know much about your background, you didn't know much about your ancestors, and you wanted to tell this story about yourself. What are some of the cultural expectations that shaped your writing of this memoir, especially for a young woman who grew up in Kenya?
So growing up in Kenya for me gave me a sense of belonging. And I give a lot of credit to my dad because my parents, I grew up in a good home. There was structure. We knew we were loved. They never said it because the generation never really said they love you when we were growing up. When we got older, then my parents started saying, I love you. Now they do. But as growing up as kids, love was shown. It was not really told. But Kenya gave me a sense of belonging. Having a family that loved and supported me gave me a sense of belonging. And the culture in Kenya, there's good values. Like I grew up with good values: hard work, kindness, love, empathy, compassion, giving back. Those are values that grounded me. So the culture in Kenya helped me as I transitioned to come here to live here in the US. That was a really good foundation. Not to say I didn't have struggles. There was a lot of cultural struggles when I got here, a lot of culture shock. And I speak on that in my book, some of the challenges I went through as a young mother here in the US.
And in fact, that's exactly where I wanted to go next, because that's when your memoir now starts taking effect. And I mean, looking at some of these chapters, you can tell, this is a person who decided to do this upon realizing, I'm now in a different world. Who am I really? That's when your memoir started taking shape. Could you talk to us? What are some of those cultural shocks that you got as a young mother arriving in the United States? Move away from the romanticization of moving away to the US from Kenya. Could you talk to us about that, Jay?
Yeah. I have to tell you, it was challenging. It was a shock. But when you're young, and that's why I encourage young people to take risks. When you're young, you don't see you don't see the challenges. You're just excited. I was excited to have a new beginning. And I was pregnant. I was 7 months pregnant, and nothing was going to come between me and my dreams. So I'm very goal oriented, and also when I put my mind into something, I believe in myself very much. I believe in myself, but I also work very hard. So my goal is always to put 100% in everything I do. And I did the same thing to, for making sure I make it to America, only to get here and realize life is not what I had imagined. They talked about dollar trees. In my head, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to find all these trees that have dollars and I'm just going to pluck them and life will be easy and cozy. That was not that was not the case. I didn't understand the culture. I didn't know the laws of the land. I didn't have money. I came here with $200 in my pockets, only $200. And I was thrown in a land where you have no money, you're trying to pursue an education, you're pregnant. And I had good friends. I had like friends from college who helped me navigate. But think about this. They are also as young as I was. They're also trying to navigate their own lives. So it was a challenge just trying to get my foot in. It took a while. But one thing I can tell you is I was very persistent. Giving up was not an option for me.
I want to talk about, because I've just glanced at your memoir this morning, and since we are there, I'm going to look at a couple of chapters that we have here. I'll go to chapter 2. There's on page 16 where you're talking about your high school sweetheart. When you're writing about a memoir, you got to go into details and tell people all about how you transitioned to the U.S. as a young woman was pregnant, and then you make stories like the high school sweetheart. Could you talk to me about your personal life? How did it change from the one that you're having here in the country? Now you've transitioned to the United States of America as a pregnant young woman. How did your personal life change, especially your life here where you're talking about your high school sweetheart?
It changed a lot, and the changes actually started happening maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I sat back and looked at my patterns, looked at my relationships and realized, wait, what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. I didn't even know I had patterns. So I cannot say changes happened when I came to the US. No, I came to the US with the same patterns I had when I was in Kenya when it comes to relationship. And they were not the healthiest patterns, but I didn't know I even had those patterns. So there's no way I was going to get help. You can't get help for something you don't know, you are struggling with. So I continued with the same patterns until a couple years ago when I really took a pause in my life and realized, wait, why am I always trying to fix people? Why am I always attracted to the broken wing? What's going on? Why do I feel like I need to save the world? Why am I fixing something I didn't break? So that most of my relationships were that way. And my high school sweetheart was one of the safest relationship I had, but because it wasn't broken and there was nothing to fix, I felt this is not for me. Let me leave this good relationship and find something to fix. Yeah, so that was an issue with me, and I had to face myself and say, what is it in me that wants to fix people? Yeah.
Even before we move away from this chapter of your personal life, was being pregnant at a time when you moved into a new country, was it the one that changed your definition of what surviving and courage means? Did that redefine the way you view those two?
I don't think being pregnant and moving here changed it. I think I was always very I've had goals, and I grew up in a home where some things were just expected. You're expected to work hard. You're expected to go to college. You're expected to find a way. And I'm a middle child. And I think part of my persistence, resilience, and hard work, I think it came from being a middle child where do you really belong? You're not among, we're seven, and I'm right there in the middle. And sometimes I did feel a little bit lost, like, wait, where do I really belong? So survival just came as I was navigating through life. And to be honest, I didn't even know I was in survival mode. I was just trying to live. I was just trying to just get to the next step, just navigate through life. When I look back, sometimes I'm like, wow, I was really in fight mode. I was really in survival mode. But at that moment, at that time, I was just trying to live. I didn't even realize I was surviving. I didn't even realize I had all these challenges. I just had to make sure, like, I was here tomorrow and my child had something to eat.
And that's it. Let's summarize that experience of moving from the country that is Kenya all the way to the United States of America. How would you summarize the emotional cost that comes with switching those two countries, Jay?
It's very, very costly. It's a lot. America can be very lonely, and everyone is busy. Everyone is busy. I really miss the community we have in Kenya. You're never lonely. You're never alone. You can talk to your neighbor. You have a friend here and there. You can call someone. The emotional part, if you don't have a good support system, you can lose your mind. You can lose it. It's very lonely. And there's also the expectations from the family back home. Now you're in America, you've made it, we need some dollars, there were times people were asking me to send them money, and I'm sleeping on an air mattress, don't have food to eat, living with a stranger. And to them, they just think I've made it because I'm in America. And emotionally, I'm drained. I got closer to God because I realized there's no way I'm going to make it here alone. I was supposed to go to Kenya, but when I came here, that went a notch higher because it was tough emotionally. There's not, I had to like build my relationships and my networks from scratch. And that was not easy. So if you can get a good support system here and also in Kenya, when you just first move in here, that's perfect. Now we do have groups where a group of women, we network, we talk to each other. But back then, I didn't have that. And I struggled. I struggled a lot. It was tough.
I can see exactly where that struggle comes from. Let's then start talking about a couple of metaphors that appear in your entire memoir. And for somebody who's wondering where they're appearing, by the way, it's in this book, Seasons of Me, a memoir by Jay this morning. And I want to call her Jay because I know she likes to refer to as Jay. There's one that comes up, escape rooms. It's a metaphor that keeps on appearing in your memoir. Can you put meaning to that? What is an escape room? What became your escape room?
Yeah. So escape room is an idea that came to me as I was just navigating life. And every time I thought I had figured it out, there was a new twist coming up. There was something else that I had to deal with. There was a challenge. And it started looking like I was in this escape room and trying to figure out life. And I didn't know how to. So for me, every season was like an escape room. And I got to a point where, okay, now let me be aware of which escape room I am in and stop feeling stuck, because that's what I was feeling. Like I was stuck in escape rooms, but not stuck physically, but mentally and emotionally. Some seasons felt stuck. But then I had to, step back and say, you know what? this feels like escape rooms of life. It's like a game of life. It's like I'm trying to navigate, but am I aware I'm even in this escape room? And how can I learn from it? How can I move forward from it? What is it trying to teach me, rather than just not being aware, and two, trying to ignore which season or which escape room you are in. So it was really going through life and pausing to see, wait, I thought I figured this. I thought I figured out relationships. Wait, how am I in the same position I was? Wait, there's a twist, there's a turn, there's all these things. So it was like moving from one escape room to another escape room. So that's where the metaphor came from. And when I was writing my book, it was a good fit as I explained the different seasons of my life.
Just scratching a tiny surface of this fantastic memoir, Seasons of Me, by Joyce Wambua Osborne. And once we come back from this break, I'll be telling you exactly how you'll be attending her launch if you want to, right here in the country, and where you can actually start then talking to her too. And also, if you want to order this memoir, I'll be telling you exactly how you do that. We take a tiny breather right here on The Morning Drift. Once we come back, more questions as to understand the mind behind this fantastic memoir, Seasons of Me, a journey of learning and unlearning, by Joyce Wambua Osborne. Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu, kwa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wasa wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi mazuri.
Mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
Hey, you asked for the vibes and we brought the vibes. Okay.
Welcome to Gen Z Vibes, where the entertainment never sleeps.
From blockbuster movies to music that bangs.
Experiment. Where is he? No matter what comes my way.
From fashion that eats to celeb gossip that shops.
We are the plug. And if it's trending, you already know we are on it.
It's real, it's raw, and it's giving Gen Zs.
Come for the vibe, stay for the tips, and leave feeling 10 out of 10, minus nothing. This is Gen Z Vibes, where the vibes never stop vibing.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
Welcome back. We are still looking into the memoir of Joyce Wambua Osborne, a memoir that you need to get your hands on, and this is how we come back to the second part of our conversation in case you're just joining us. I'm going to go directly to the dedication. See how majority of authors would dedicate this to their family members, to their friends and to their family, on helping them achieve this literally work. This is her dedication, and it's quite brief, direct, and straight to the point. She says, for the ones finding their way, and those brave enough to begin again, may you see yourself in these pages, and may they remind you there is no shame in becoming and no deadline on blooming. That's the entire dedication. So if you're wondering why you need to get this memoir, it's just right there in your face. That is The Seasons of Me, A Journey of Learning and Unlearning by Joyce Wambua Osborne. And we still do have her in the studio this morning. Now, Joyce, talk to me about raising a child, just having immediately moved to the United States. And I'm gonna ask you this special question. It comes like this. How are you raising that child? Did you raise her with the Kenyan values because you just immediately moved to the United States? Or did you sit back and say, I'm going to impact different values in this kid now that we are at the United States of America? Could you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so at the beginning, when my son, I have 2 boys, so 2 sons, and very, very, very blessed, good kids, very kind, hardworking, intelligent, and who are also God-fearing. So, but back to your question, when my son was born, at that point, I was by myself. I had come here alone, and it was very important for me to instill the values my father taught me on the culture, the Kenyan culture. That worked when my son was young, and then my second son, but it got to a point where, okay, these values are important. I've already instilled them in my son, but let me be realistic. We are not in Kenya, we're in America. So some things might have worked in Kenya, they're not gonna work here. It's a different generation. And for me to be open-minded and be able to just look at some things and tweak them a little bit, the values are like kindness and compassion and love, those ones, we were not changing that, that's the values my children are grounded on. But there were things like friends, how important is it to have friends in this country? Also, the way I was raised, it was more of, this is what is expected of you. You do what I say. You don't ask questions. You just follow, you just follow whatever instructions you're told. That's respect. And I was raised, where we are more timid, we are not outspoken, so that was my culture in Kenya. But then as my children grew, I realized some of those things are not going to work. And I remember my son one time saying to me, "Mom, you were raised where you just did what you were told to do. You followed instructions. Mom, that's not us. That's not me. I want to know why you're asking me to do X, Y, and Z. I want you to explain to me. I just don't want to do things because I'm being told to do. So he challenged me. So I had to change the way I was raising my kids and just be flexible and realize it's a different generation. Yes.
When I hear you, I gotta tell you this on a personal note now that we're talking about it. I'm struggling to find what your Kenyan reality is and your American situation. Which one is a reality and which one is a situation? Could you maybe I should put it in the right terms. Which one is a circumstance and which one is a reality? Because now when I listen to you, there is a whole tint of an American woman in the way that you present and speak to us this morning. So could you tell us which one is a reality and which one is a circumstance in your life, Jay?
Well, I don't find anything a circumstance in my life because I'm living in it, and I think that was the most important thing in accepting and realizing this is where I am and I'm going to own this. I am in America now and I'm going to own it. This is my home now. I've been here 20 years. This is my home. I'm very deep rooted in my culture. I visit my country every year. I come to see my mom, and I have siblings there. But it's okay to belong to two worlds. And that's where I think in the beginning, I struggled with that when I came here. Where do I belong? Am I a Kenyan? Am I an American? What am I? That was a real struggle. But as I navigated through life growth, I'm very big on personal growth. I have taken classes. I love seminars, webinars. I read a lot of books. So I read a lot of books. I've learned that just being able to, one, be aware, two, accepting where it is, and three, it's okay to belong to both worlds, or sometimes to feel like you don't belong. There were times I felt like I didn't belong. Like, who am I? And going back to my roots and just realizing the person I am and redefining some of the beliefs, some of the patterns and what came from beliefs, narratives that we were told growing up, expectations. For example, getting married. That was like an expectation that, hey, you just have to get married at this time. If you're not, there's all this pressure. So looking at some of those beliefs and questioning them and realizing, you know what? In this season of my life, I want to belong in this world because this is where I am now. I don't have to really hold on to this other world or this culture or this. Really looking at see what really works for you right now and deciding, do I want to be in both worlds right now or just one world, or this culture working for me, or is that culture working for me? So I don't find any as a situation. They're all realities. I'm living it. Yeah.
Maybe I should ask you as well, to you then, what is belonging? Is it a place or is it a mindset? Why are you currently as it is? Is it a place to you or is it a mindset?
What belonging? I'm sorry, did I catch that?
Is it belonging to a place or is it a mindset, Jay?
For me, it's a mindset. The mind, it's really a mindset. You belong anywhere if in your mind you feel you're comfortable, you're accepted. It doesn't have to be a particular place, because like being aware of who you are and accepting who you are, it's really a mindset. It's really a mindset. You could be in sunny Florida, but if your mindset is telling you it's gloomy and nothing happens for me, it doesn't matter the location you are in. That doesn't change anything. But you could be in cold Colorado, but your mindset tells you life is sunny, life is good, and life will be good. I'm also big on manifesting and speaking the life you want. And I don't think that has much to do with location, but it has much to do with mindset. Like speaking your reality, mindset. What do you really want? Manifesting. Yeah. So for me, mindset every day.
Let's talk about the conflict majority of people who want to write memoirs go through. And I'll put this to you because I know you must have gone through that in your writing journey. A good memoir is one that when somebody reads, they can tell honesty, they can see the nakedness of the author that is writing that particular memoir. How did you find the courage to tell the truth? And are there some areas, Jay, where you sat down one evening when you're writing and you were like, oof, do I include this? Do I leave this out? Could we have that this morning?
Yeah, it was emotional writing the memoir, and I did have to stop a couple times and just recollect myself because some of the emotions came rushing back as I was writing, but not from pain, but from peace. Because I had done the work to make sure I was fully healed so I can write the memoir. So that really helped me. And I think what was the second part of your question?
During your writing process, you almost left out when you're like, do I have to talk about that?
So when I decided to write my memoir, I was very clear with myself. I wanted it to be authentic. I wanted it to be honest and truthful and show everything, the struggles, the good part, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I did not want to leave anything out. In fact, I could have expanded more on this memoir, but we had to, really, like it had to be a good size. So, and I've had people come with questions like, hey, tell me more about chapter 2. Tell me more about this. What else happened? So there's a lot of questions that I get that make me think maybe I should, expand more on it. Leaving out anything is not what I wanted to, because that was not going to be authentic for me. It wasn't going to be coming from who I was. And I wanted people to know who I really am. Everything that comes with me. In fact, one of my collaborative writers, she is the one, and she did an amazing job while I was writing this book. I would be writing and she'd be like, no, maybe we need to change this. Kate Wanjiro, I have to give her a shout out. She did an amazing job in helping me write these stories. And some paragraphs she'd be like, oh, maybe we need to refresh this. But she at one point asked me, are you sure you want to put that in? And I'll be like, yes, I do. And she would come back again the following meeting when we had, and she'd be like, Jay, are you sure you want to write about this? Maybe we need to take this part out. And I'll be like, no, I want it in there. I want it in there. It's my story. It has to be in there. I cannot leave out a section of my story just because it's not glamorous. No, life is not like that. Real life is not like that. We have challenges and we have good times. And if I want to write my story, I want to give you the truth. I want to give you everything.
I like all your stories about learning and unlearning. I want to ask you this question. What was your biggest moment of acceptance when you said, now I have fully self-accepted myself? And what is the biggest unlearning lesson you've had to go through in your life, Jay?
Yeah, so learning and unlearning, I grew up, in a generation where there was a lot of belief systems. And there are all these narratives that we told ourselves. And I felt like I was not complete, as a person if some of these belief systems that were instilled in me, I didn't follow them, or these narratives were not in my life. I had to follow some narratives. I grew up in structure, but unlearning for me was just being very honest and say, you know what, that might have worked during my parents' generation, but it doesn't work for me right now. But also giving myself self permission to be who I am without worrying about what the society, what the culture is going to say about me, what is expected of me. So when I started rediscovering myself, initially I was like, who am I? Like, who am I as a person? You know, where am I coming from? Where am I going to? Why is marriage so important, for example? Why is getting children so important? Is it really important to me, or is this a belief system and narrative that was told to me by my culture? And now I just feel like I have to follow it. So I had to take a pause and really look at different areas of my life and ask myself, well, am I doing this because it's familiar, because it's what's expected of me, or am I actually enjoying it? Am I learning something? Is it fulfilling to me? And that's when I started unlearning some things, because I was just doing them because they were familiar. It was a belief system, but it wasn't really pouring into me. I wasn't learning. I wasn't growing. It wasn't bringing me joy. So now I ask myself, like, who am I and what am I doing? What's my vision? Do I have clarity? Do I have joy inside, or am I just floating around? I don't want to float around. I want to know who I am. So I started rediscovering myself. And you know what? I ended up who I was before I was living through other people's eyes. Before I was living through other people's lives. So I just went back to who I really was, what I loved to do, relearning something and realizing that, you know, this doesn't complete me. I'm complete the way I am, and being okay with that.
We were talking about seasons. So I look at you now, and I just want to go back to a conversation we've just had a couple of minutes ago. Would you like, you go by Miss Who? Do you go by Miss Osborne, or do you go by Miss Wambua? Which one do you prefer?
Yeah, so I go by all my three names. My dad is not with us anymore. So, you know, since my dad passed in 2019, I'm really owning the name Wambua just to keep the legacy going. You know, my mom is still with us, and she's an amazing woman. Shout out to Mom. I love you very much. Yeah, I feel like I own all three names. They are my names. You know, I can add a fourth one, Mutan. Mutan is the name my mom gave me, and she said when I was born, it was a very happy season. I was born in their house. My mom was alone. She this is very emotional for me, because I just learned about this August. I was having conversations with my mom, and I've been pushing like, you know, people, write your story. Don't just be a name in your family tree, be a story. So speaking to my mom, and it was my birthday, and I said to her, Mom, give me a story I don't know. And she said, you were born in the house. I was by myself, and I took a razor and cut your umbilical cord, tied it with a string, lifted you up, and breastfed you. I was like, wait, Mom, what? She was like, that's how you came into this world. And all I could think about, the courage, the love, they just wanted to have me here. And then when my dad came, this was in the 70s, there were no cell phones. When my dad came home, he finds a little baby here. And my dad was like, well, is she okay? Yes, she's fine. Called the doctor, checked me out. I was okay. And my mom told me how happy my dad was. He was having fun with his friends. They were just celebrating that I was healthy. And they called me Mutano, which means happiness. So, so anyway, I don't know where that story was came from, but yeah, I just thought I shared. But I hope I answered the question, or maybe you can.
You have fully answered that question, because then my next question is going to be, since we're talking about seasons of me, I've got two questions that appear to be the same question this morning. what season are you currently in your life? And still an extension of the same question, what sort of seasons have you finding yourself in your current life, Jay?
I'm in a very good season. I know who I am. I know what I want. I have a vision of where I'm going. I have joy inside of me. I'm not looking for someone to bring me happiness. I am happy with who I am. I'm a lover of life. I'm an explorer of both the world and the soul. I travel a lot. I'm into nature. I'm in a very good seasons with good people around me. And I had to learn that you attract who you are, not who you want. And when I learned that, then I took the steps to make sure I was a healthy person. I was coming from a good place inside. I healed myself inside out. And after doing that, I started attracting healed people, people who want to move forward, positive people. So I'm in a season where I'm surrounded with positivity, with joy, with discovery, with acceptance. But all that had to start with me. It had to start with me, healing myself, making sure I'm a quality person so I can attract quality people. So it's a really, really good season. Very grateful, very grateful.
I want to talk to you about this then. Is there a way that you've discovered that you can share this morning for anybody who's going to read this memoir on how to identify the season that you are in? And once you identify the season you are in with Jay, what are you supposed to do with it?
Okay. Yeah, so I think the best way is to just pause, be very honest with yourself, because sometimes we don't even want to face ourselves in the mirror because we don't want to see who we are. It's easier for us as human beings to say, this is being done to me. I'm only attracting broken people. I'm only, people are taking advantage of me. I was really bad with how I handled my time and my resources. Like I gave up my resources and my time to people who really didn't earn it. But it's because I had not paused to really look at what am I really doing. And I remember at the time I was in therapy, and I told the therapist, people keep taking advantage of me. People take my time for granted, my resources for granted. I'm always giving. And she asked me, like, what is it about you that makes you feel good about that? You must be getting something about it. You can't say people are taking advantage of you. You're probably getting some validation that makes you feel good. That's why you're doing that. And that really got me thinking, is that the case? And if yes, why do I need validation? Why do I have to give my time and resources to people who don't deserve it to get validation? I need to validate myself. So I want to say to those people, it's been very honest, and it's not easy because it's like undressing. You're undressing yourself and you're looking at yourself, but you have to do that for you to really realize what season you are in. And once you realize what season you are in, there's always two ways. You can decide, you know what, I don't like this season I'm in. This is not serving me well. Maybe this worked a couple of years ago, but it's not working right now. And that's okay. And then number two, what do I want to do about it? You can decide to stay in that season. And some people do. Some people realize, you know what? This is a good season. It's working for me. I'm growing. I'm learning. I want to stay there. But there are also people who find out it's not a good season. I'm not learning. I'm in an abusive friendship. I'm in a toxic relationship, but they consciously decide to stay there. That's okay too, if that's a decision you make. But being aware is your first step. You have to be aware where you are and then make a decision. Do I want to make any changes? And I'm hoping if you realize you're in a place that's not a safe place, it's not, it's not serving you well, it's not pouring into you, you can make decisions to improve that, to change that, baby steps to change that. And also knowing you're enough. You are enough. You don't need people to tell you are enough. Just by being here, you're enough. Your energy that you bring in, you're enough. Surrounding yourself with people who are positive, who pour into you, and not being the only one pouring into people. That's being enough. You don't have to be a savior. You don't have to fix everyone. Sometimes you have to fix yourself. Yeah.
And as we talk about seasons topic, Jay, do we truly arrive? For somebody who's speaking about seasons, do we as human beings truly arrive, or life is always shifting? What is your mema trying to tell us from this?
Yeah, it's telling us life is always shifting. I've had so many seasons in my life, and I'm still going through seasons of my life. I have not arrived. I'm navigating this life right now and just trying to get the best and do the best and be the best person I can be, learn and grow. I am a life learner. I love to learn. I love to listen to other people's perspective. I like to experience different cultures. So with all that, life is always shifting. Life is always shifting. And it's okay. We just have to learn to be adaptable. And to be okay, not to be okay. I don't like this season right now. This season is not serving me very well, but it's fine. It's shifting. There's always a window that's open. There's always a door that's cracked that you can look through it and realize, you know what? I can step out of this season. Soon this season is going to be over. And when we have good seasons, also like really embracing them and enjoying those seasons. I've had good seasons, and let me mention a book I read that I felt like it helped me like realize that life is not just one season. It's by, what's his name? Oh, I forget his name. Okay, I'm gonna have to come back to that.
His name.
Yeah, Die with Zero. There we go.
There we go. There we go.
Zero. Yes, it's an amazing book, and it talks about just having all your experiences and enjoying your experiences and maximizing your positive experiences. That is a book that I go back to all the time, and it made me realize or question myself, like, is my life shifting right now, or where am I? Yeah. So I would really recommend that book.
Our conversation this morning, before we get to talk about the launch and what we expect for guys who want to get their hands on this memoir, you now represent another culture. You are truly in the African American woman bracket in this perspective of seasons. Is there a way you would like for this woman who's in a bracket to be viewed now that you fully represent that definition as Joyce?
Yeah, I can be viewed. I would love to be viewed as a Kenyan first, because I am a Kenyan first, who's living in America. And just recognizing that it's okay to be in both places. And what works, what might have worked a couple years ago, might not be working right now here in America. And I'm adaptable. I'm willing to adapt. I'm willing to make adjustments. I don't have to have that mindset that things have to be done this way. oh, this is how it was done in Kenya, so I have to do it this way in America, and vice versa. Just because some things are done here in America doesn't mean now because I'm here, I should do it. I need to really question myself as a Kenyan American and see what really works for me and still have my culture, my values. Those don't change. My values are my values. I don't compromise on my values. But stepping out and saying, okay, I'm a Kenyan and this Kenyan culture and values work for me, but I'm in America, I could make adjustments, and this also works for me here in America. And I don't have to say it has to be this or that. And I think that's where we sometimes get lost. We want to just fully belong in one place. Like I have to be 100% Kenyan and do all the Kenyan cultures and not adaptable and not have any changes or tweaks in my life. No, I don't think we should approach life like that. We should approach life in a way where we are looking at it that we can change, we can adapt, and we can pick and choose what works for us. And that's okay. And if down the road we want to change our mind, life is shifting. Life is shifting. Let's continue being stories in our family tree. Let's leave legacies.
As we clear this conversation, I want us to take 30 seconds and announce when the book launch is going to be, and for any other person who want to know the details of that book launch, where they're going to get it from. 30 seconds, Joyce.
Yes. So the book launch is going to be on December 6th in Nairobi, Kenya. We are working on the locations, and all those updates will be found on my Instagram, which is @joyful_faces, or it can also be found on my YouTube channel, on my Facebook. And I also have a website, seasonsofme.org, and we'll be updating the information there on the book launch. I would love to see you there, and come in and let's have more discussions on the different seasons of our lives.
Be there myself. Okay, let's step out of the studio like this, 15 seconds. If your younger self, that woman who was born alone by the mother in that house, would read this book today, what words would you like to share? 15 seconds. What would you tell her today?
Yeah, that you're enough. You're enough. You don't need people to validate you. You're beautiful. You're God's gift. And keep choosing yourself. Do not minimize yourself to fit in any other person. So you are enough. Choose yourself every day. That's what I would tell my younger self.
Oh, Jay, thank you very much for taking your time to speak to us this morning.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This is wonderful. I really appreciate the time and spending good questions, very good questions.
Thank you very much. Guess what? You've heard, now you've got to talk to her at Joyful Faces, that is on Instagram. Follow that account and know exactly the updates you're going to receive. Looking forward to that launch on December the 6th. And you can also talk to her directly on email, seasonsofme01@gmail.com. If you want to get into an advanced booking of this memoir, then you can also be in touch with Joyce right there. That's exactly what we had for you this morning. I step out of the studio, probably it's time for me to start identifying what season I'm in. See you tomorrow for another conversation. Good morning and goodbye.